I was born 76 years ago, just today, by the way. And I was born in south of France, in Provence, with 4 brothers and 1 sister. And my father was director of a steel mill. So to keep me out of trouble during vacation, he put me working with the blacksmith of the factory. And when I was 9, 10, 11, 12, I was so happy to work with the forge. That's where I already started to work with steel. I remember I was perhaps 12. I started to make some sketches in the mountain. And I said to my mother when I was 14, 15, that I wanted to be an artist that make a big scandal in the family. My mother told me, never no artist in the family. You have to be engineer like your father and your brothers. So I went to civil engineering school in Paris. And when I just got my degree of civil engineer, I went to Palais de Chaillot to learn about theater. And by the way, I had a wonderful professor. Everybody know him, is Marcel Marceau. So after 3 years in art school, my debt was growing because you don't make too much money with a theater company. So I remember that I was civil engineer. And I went to Africa, in Nigeria, in Lagos, and in Ivory Coast, in Abidjan, where I built a treatment plant for Lagos. I built some plywood factory, some cement factory in Abidjan. I built some water tank in Bouna, north of Ivory Coast. And after I came back to France, where I started a farm. By the way, I started a farm of rabbit. I have more than 3,000 rabbits. And after 5 years living with rabbits, so many years, I discovered I better to paint. And I start to be a painter. Thanksgiving Day 78, I came here in America, and the ambassador in New York directed me to Washington, where the attaché of culture helped me to have my first show at the National Academy of Sciences. It was a wonderful show. I had some problem because everybody was speaking English and nobody was speaking French. But anyway, the Air and Space Museum got one of my paintings because I was painting space, only space, because after 69, after the moon, space was a big part of the culture in the world. And after I moved to Canada, I went to Florida, I went to Los Angeles, and to Dallas. I spent 9 years in Dallas as a painter, and I started to make some sculpture in Dallas in '83. And from this day, I'm a sculptor. By being civil engineer before building a bridge, water tank factory, I have a tendency to work big. And I came in Hot Spring in May '89, and I am so pleased to live in this big building. It's perfect for me. I have enough showroom, I have a wonderful workshop, which is a gymnasium of the school, and I have a sculpture garden. It's a playground of the school. So all the building is perfect for me. When I was in Dallas, I'm making already steel sculpture for 6 years, but I was creating the piece from my mind. And I realized one day when I came in Hot Spring, by the contact of the nature here, that there is no life in our mind. Life comes from outside, and life is nature. When I was 8, 9 years old, it was the war, World War II, of course, and the gardener of my father was working with me in the vegetable garden, and he showed me all the organic of the vegetable, all the flowers, the beans, the growing of the radish, all of that. And I was amazed to discover so many wonderful shapes in nature. That's why now, as a sculptor, I'm working with piece of wood where I found the movement of nature, which is totally organic. You see, this piece of wood inspired me the movement of the piece you see behind me. It's strange because I follow the shape, the movement, the tension, the torsion of it, which is life of nature. We are a part of that. This one, by the way, I call it a rosebud. It is very important for the kind of pieces I do to be in nature, in front of the trees. The nature is like a niche for them. They get more life outside than they get inside. When I finish a piece inside in my workshop and I go out moving the piece to a pedestal outside, I see the piece in a totally different way. A lot of life comes inside the piece because this life communicates with nature. It's like a conversation between art and nature. It's very interesting that in theater they taught me how to say a poetry. And it is much more difficult to say a poetry than to play on the stage. And to understand the poetry, you have to understand the movement, the rhythm of the word and the meaning of the poetry. That way I started to understand art.